Welcome back to H Hour. This episode is being streamed live to H Hour patrons. They have also had advanced viewing of the guest list, the lucky devils, and they've also been able to submit questions for the guests, which were answered by the guest today, Bag Simmons, on the icebreaker. A few of which we couldn't fit into that 20-minute sort of approximate limit we have, so I'll ask them at the end of this podcast. If you want the opportunity to support the podcast, support me, and to get access to the guest list, watch live links of the podcast and submit questions in advance, become a patron of the podcast. It costs as little as £5 a month. It's absolutely nothing. It's literally cheaper than the cost of a coffee these days. It's depressing to say that. Honest to God, it is very depressing. And a shitty coffee at that. On that note, Greg's coffee's pretty cheap. That is not a fiver. And it tastes very, very good. I do not work for Greg's. They're not commissioning me. They're not a sponsor. I just realised it recently and I thought, in addition to corned beef pasties, if your local Greg's sell corned beef pasties and you've always been put off by it, have a corned beef pasty. It will change. Corned beef pasty, not Cornish pasty. It will change your life. You can take it up a level by making your own at home. Dead easy. Get some dough. You can get rolls of dough pre-made from Tesco's or Asda, like pre-made. Don't have to do anything. No flour, no water. Get those. Get a tin of corned beef. Put it inside. About 20 minutes in the oven. Your own corned beef pasty. I don't work for Tesco's or Asda either. Nor am I a producer of dough.
Yet.
Welcome back, Bags.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you, mate. It's good to see you. It's been so fucking long. It's been so long. The TV and film episodes, I was loving those. Are you still up for doing those in future?
Yeah.
You are still.
Okay,
Mega. Let's do those again.
Would love to, yeah.
And get Brock Dorfner in.
Brockmeister.
The Brockmeister.
There's a film that's on Amazon Prime that we need to watch. It's about a tank. It's a Russian tank.
What's it called?
I think it's
Is he
called
in it?
Tank. No, he's not. It's
Don't
Russian.
tell me it's called Tank.
It's Russian. It's dubbed. I don't know if it's called Tank, but it's a tank film about tanks. It's probably called Tank in Russian, which I don't know what Tank in Russian is.
Amazon Prime. Have a look. Okay, I'm gonna type it into the chat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna speak it. Amazon Prime Russian film called Tank. Hopefully it is called Tank. Okay. The Tank.
I'm sorry, The Tank.
Yeah. Screen. Hang on.
The Tank.
The Tank, also known as The Tiger, is a 2025-2026 German-produced war film.
Is it about a
not
Russian tank?
Russian.
Oh, is it
Now,
German?
I've just been corrected. Not Russian. Now streaming on Amazon Prime that follows a German Tiger tank crew on a dangerous 1943 mission behind Soviet lines.
So it's in Russia.
Directed by Dennis Gansel, it is described as a dark, psychological, and intense drama focusing on the crew's descent into a heart of darkness. Watch the official trailer for The Tank to get a glimpse of the intense, gritty war scene. Should we watch the trailer? I don't know if the audio will come through.
I can't see any of your screens.
Show you it. I can show you.
Show me the
Should we watch
screens.
the trailer?
Yeah, go on.
All right, no, I'll show you.
Will everybody at home be able to see it?
It's on the screen.
Yeah.
And hopefully the sound will come through.
So it makes sense it's called Das Tiger because it looks like a tiger tank.
No audio.
That's fine.
Okay. Well, I didn't like the trailer. Anyway, okay, so my screen sharing has limitations. Anyway, I will watch it.
Well, no, I think we should watch it together or do you want to watch it and then come together and do a pod?
Well, the film?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh, yeah.
We could do a themed TV and film episode on tank films.
Agreed. Hard agree.
For those who haven't watched any of the numerous times that Bags has appeared on this podcast, Bags is in fact a former officer of the Royal Tank Regiment.
I mean, you said both of those with a sneer.
Well, I nearly said member. He is a member.
I have been called worse, yeah.
He is a member. Yeah, Bags is a tanky. So we could do a tank TV film episode.
Nothing would give me
what
more
unit
joy.
was Brock van Dorfner?
Queen's Royal Hussars. He was a hussar.
Hang on a minute, but aren't they kind of armour people as well?
They are.
The tank people.
Okay, do you want to go down this route? So, World War One, trench
Here we fucking go.
warfare,
Yeah.
stalemate.
Yeah.
They needed something to invention of machine guns meant that the traditional tactics didn't work. Therefore, soldiers dug trenches to protect themselves. So World War One turned into trench warfare. In order to break the trench deadlock, the British started to create the world's first tank. And it was originally conceived as a land ship, so the power of a battleship on land, so something that could cross land. So they basically took a battleship and a tractor and wanged the two together and made a tank. Wanged. It's a verb. Look it up.
I'd love you to describe that process to the engineers who actually did it at the time.
Exactly. They were wanging. Yeah. Wanged the two together to create the first tank. And it was able to cross no man's land, cross trenches, and it helped break the stalemate in World War One. They created the Heavy Branch Machine Corps, which was a code name. So the Machine Gun Corps existed. The Heavy Branch Machine Gun Corps was a code name for the Tank Corps, that after World War One became the Tank Corps. In the 30s, became the Tank Regiment. And then between World War One and World War Two, most of the cavalry regiments converted over to tanks. Not all of them. Famously, the Scots Greys, I think, were the last ones who didn't convert onto tanks until World War II, probably midway through, I think 1942. The Scots Greys decided actually horses didn't survive well against machine gun fire, but everybody else did it before then. So nowadays you have various different branches of the armoured corps, some who work in tanks, some who work in light armour, and you have the cavalry and you have the original tankies. But the cavalry look down on the tankies because they see us as new. We've only been around for 110 years. And the tankies look down on the cavalry as people who came late to tanks. So that's it, really. Any questions?
No, I don't. We've got a problem with the live link. I just need to, 1 second. I just need to tell.
That's fine. Shall I entertain myself? Shall I tell some more tank facts?
I'm just letting someone know. Check the post.
And we've spoken about the beret before, but the RTR were the first people to have the beret. They took it off the French in World War One. And the British Army didn't adopt the beret whole scale until World War Two.
You love pointing at that.
I do, yeah.
Because you're not a crap out then, by definition.
Can't be a crap out.
The old definition.
It was the RTR, then it was the SAS, then it was the Commandos, then it was the Paras.
We can't be.
Then it was the Paras, fourth in line.
Trust me, you can be a crap out.
If it weren't for the tankies, you Paras would be wearing, you'd be wearing pink tent hats.
Absolute screamer. Oh, mate. What's going down in Bags World? Are we allowed to mention about the... 1 second.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we can mention about you getting engaged. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And Jess.
Thank you
Jess
very much.
Jess is also obviously a previous podcast.
Yeah, she's been on the pod.
Well done, mate.
Yeah,
well
that's
done.
not how we met. But
was it a romantic... Was it a talk us through the proposal?
So I'd been in... I realised she took me to Burr Island, which is, if you've never been to, Burr Island's an amazing place. It's off the coast of Devon, and it's an island that you can only...
where?
Devon.
Oh, Devon, okay.
You can only reach it at low tide, and at high tide there's a tractor that takes you across with...
But it wanged together?
It probably was wanged together, yeah. And this place was where Agatha Christie wrote all of her books. And the island has got one pub, and it's got a hotel on it, which is like a 1930s Art Deco hotel. Anyway, Jess has done a couple of events there, and alongside being paid for it, they give her free nights. So it was her birthday a couple of years ago, and she took me down to the island. We went to see the otters as well. There's an otter sanctuary on the mainland, not too far away. I think we went to Buckfastleigh to see Buckfast Abbey. Yeah, just did a long weekend. Took her to the range. We did some shooting. Standard romantic weekend. Standard romantic
Buckfast
weekend.
and ranges.
Exactly. Buckfast and guns.
It's like being back in the range. Yeah.
And it was then that I realised, that she was who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. So I then
Wait.
yeah.
This was last year.
Year before last, I think, before my 40th. So I can't even remember how old I am now.
Okay.
It was 18 months, 2 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more than that. Anyway, realised that was where things would go. So I decided to get a ring made. And so I sat down with my aunt, who's a jewellery designer, very cool lady, and I had a chat with her about it, and she gave me a lot of guidance. And over the course of 4 or 5 months, we would meet up every so often, and she would show me some designs based on some thoughts that I'd had, based on things that Jess liked, places that we'd been that we liked, and she created us this incredible ring. So Jess had a job where she was going to go to Norway. Was it Norway? No, Finland. And so I thought, I can go out and see her, and I can do it then. That got pushed to the end of the year, and I'd got the ring by this point, and it was burning a bit of a hole in my pocket. And she got a job at the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford-upon-Avon over the summer. And she was...
That's a lovely area up there.
It's really nice. She was understudying for Rose Leslie. For anybody who's a Game of Thrones fan, she's in Game of Thrones. Rose Leslie, married to Kit Harington. She's the ginger one. I can't.
Those two are not married.
Yeah.
Oh, Rose. Sorry, there's two ginger ones. There's the main ginger one.
Yeah.
I remember Rose.
Sophie Turner. Sophie Turner's the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, Rose Leslie's gorgeous.
Yeah. So
Sophie Turner is also gorgeous.
Jess was understudying for Rose Leslie. Yeah.
Wasn't Rose Leslie the one with the proper northern accent in it?
No. She has a proper northern accent in Game of Thrones, I believe.
In Game of Thrones.
I've never seen it. Yeah. But no, she's really posh in real life.
She's a great.
Yeah. So Jess was studying for Rose at the Royal Shakespeare Company. And in theatre, what you have is rehearsals, which is normally done in a rehearsal space. You then move to the theatre and you do the tech rehearsals, which is done in the theatre itself. You then have like a soft week. I can't remember what it's called, but you have dress rehearsals, basically. People come and pay to see it, but they pay a lot less. And then you have the opening night or press night. So press night is when everything's up and running. So I was in Malta filming, and I'd taken the ring out with me, and I flew back, jumped in the van, drove up to Stratford-upon-Avon, and I was going to propose to her that night when, because it was the press night, it was a big party. Anyway, everybody ended up coming back to her little flat in Stratford-upon-Avon, and we had a bit of an after party, and we drank the litre of Japanese whiskey that I bought.
Oh, God.
And it all got a bit Larry. Anyway, Jess loves Ferrero Rocher. She's like an absolute fiend for it. I'll buy her like a little 12-pack, and she will scoff through that pretty damn quickly. I once saw her with one in each cheek as she was unwrapping the third one to pop into her mouth. She bloody loves them. So I bought, as I was going through duty free, there was a massive industrial, tub of the thing. I was like, brilliant. I'll hide it at the bottom, give that to her, and she'll get through that in an afternoon, and the ring will be at the bottom. And so I didn't give it to her that night because there were loads of people there, and I didn't want somebody else to find it because that would be really awkward. Didn't want to do it in front of loads of people. So I gave it to her the next day when we were both incredibly hungover. It was all the way at the bottom. I reckon there must have been about 50 Ferrero Rocher in there. She had one and went, they're a bit stale, and put the lid back on and left them.
Oh. Oh my God.
And I'd sought advice from various people, and they said, look, don't overplan the proposal because the other person will do everything in their power unknowingly to unhinge the entire thing. A friend of mine called Sam, he was going to propose to his girlfriend, they were going for a week in Italy, and on the Sunday he had the whole day planned, everything, all these events, and he was going to propose to her at the end. On the Saturday, she proposed to him first.
Oh my God.
So all of this was like, don't overplan it. So anyway, she was in the theatre that night. She has to be, even though she's the understudy, she has to be there, ready to go. So while she was at the theatre, I took it out of the box and shuffled it up to the very top. So all she had to do was take out the top one, and there it was. So lo and behold, at about 10 o'clock at night, she comes back in, and I put them by the front door, and she went, took the one off the top. As she was putting it into her mouth, went, oh, there's another box in it, then put the lid back on and went into the kitchen.
Oh, so it's the ring in a box.
The ring's in a box.
She saw the box.
She saw the box and didn't twig.
Or whatever.
So I was like, oh, why don't you have a look at what the box is? Anyway, she then came back to it, looked at the box, and while she was, because it was in a bigger box, she opened the big box and there was a ring box on the inside. And she said, is this what I think it is? As I got down onto one knee, and then that's how I proposed.
Nice.
So incredibly hungover at the end of a long day.
Well, congratulations, mate.
Thank you very much.
She is a good woman.
She is. She's very good.
Yeah,
too good
she's
for
a
me.
great woman. I said good in a way that I meant great, like good, like a good woman.
Yeah.
You know? Talented individual.
She is. But the great thing was I was due to go back to London the next morning, but the staff at the RSC managed to get me tickets to see the show the next day, and Jess had to go on for the matinee. So Jess was on stage as the lead, and they let her wear the ring, because the ring it was a very 1920s play, and the ring was a very 1920s style ring, and so she had this massive rock on her finger, bouncing light off it. Yeah, it was wonderful. So I got to see her perform wearing the ring.
Oh, he's wonderful. Yeah, congratulations, mate.
Thank you very much.
Happy for you both. Happy for you both. She must be busy at the minute, is she?
Very.
Yeah.
She's she is doing a film. Can I say? No, I can't. She's doing a film next week. She's been doing 2 or 3 games this week. Yeah, she
seems to love doing the game voices.
She loves
the game voiceovers.
She loves the games. That's why she got into acting in the first place, was doing the voices. She was watching Ice Age and seeing.
Do you want to explain to people what Jess does? So
she is an actress. Predominantly, she does voiceover, but her love is theatre as well. But she has a real. She was raised in Wales.
She's fucking Welsh.
She's got an Irish passport.
She's more right, but I'm Welsh.
When she's tired or drunk, she does get a little bit Welsh and says things like toothbrush and saucepan, and heard. But she is a little bit Welsh. She has an incredible talent for voices, so she often gets brought in to do characters in games where the original person in like they're doing a game of a TV show or something. The original actor isn't doing the games. They bring her in to mimic their voice. She's incredible at doing that. She used to be able to unlock iPhones when they were voice by mimicking somebody's voice. Yeah, she's really good at it. Good at it. Yeah. But obviously Apple have upgraded their tech since.
Yeah.
But no, she loves it. She loves theatre as well. So yeah, she's got a lot of good things in the pipeline. I can't say what any of them are because I'll be breaking every NDA under the sun. But yeah.
So since we last spoke, I think you banged out Rogue Hero Season 2. Rogue Hero Season 3. Season 3, yeah.
So Season 2 was out on TV this time last year. Season 3 we filmed end of last year. So we finished filming about a month and a half ago. Finished in December.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Did
it get easier as the season's been on?
No.
Where were they? Where was it shot?
It should do. This was shot mostly in the UK with a little bit in Belgium. So it should get easier, but it was greenlit very last moment, and trying to get all the actors back was quite hard because a lot of them have become quite famous now, and so trying to organize all their schedules to make sure we could have everybody in the same place at the same time. Plus, the period that we were doing in season 3 is supposed to be the summer. So us going into the winter was making things difficult. A lot of it was filmed in woodland, and obviously when it gets to autumn, the leaves start to fall off. So there was a lot of technical challenges trying to make it work. So it was shot on a shorter schedule than both season 1 and season 2. So it's got shorter each time, the schedule. So this time, season 1 was pretty much one unit shot the whole thing. So season 2, we had 2. I think one of them shot probably about 20 to 25% of the time. So, and then season 3, second unit shot 50% of the time. So you're doing more in less time. So I think the schedule was more punishing for sure. Yeah.
And I remember when the first series, I loved. I've only seen the first series, and the only reason I say that is because I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't, and I deliberately try and stay. I don't want to be consumed by things. There's very little things I'll put my time into it. I watched the first series because you were involved with it, and like as you know,
very much.
Fucking loved it. Oh, in fact, I went and watched the first episode at your place. No.
Yes, it was.
Royal
We did a screening at.
And the series
Don't tell the BBC.
Brilliant series.
Yeah.
However, I remember there being a mixed reaction from certain quarters of the military community in the UK to that first series, because very precious about the history, obviously. But this is a dramatized program, right? How did that change as the second and third series came about? And did I explain that fairly about season 1?
Yeah. So the criticisms came from a number of different angles. Most people loved it, and what was brilliant was you had people from all over the spectrum enjoying it. So I think it was Anthony Beaver, the historian, Sir Anthony Beaver. I think it was him. He was a very prominent historian. I think it was him saying that he thought it was great. At the same time, is it Caitlin Moran, feminist writer? She said, I can't think of a TV show that I would be less likely to enjoy that I enjoyed more. She loved it too. So if you're catching those two ends of the spectrum, then it's sort of a dream for any production company to be able to get that spread of people. And a lot of people were saying things like, my wife or my partner usually hates watching these things, but really enjoyed it. So it did a good job of capturing everybody. There are a lot of people that got annoyed by very minor things, and some of them were also quite wrong. So there were a couple of people that were getting annoyed about them wearing sunglasses in the desert, going British forces didn't wear sunglasses in the desert, blah 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 blah. And then you present them with the history and the pictures, like, right, here's David Sterling, 1941, wearing sunglasses in the desert. You know, them saying, oh, they didn't have aviators in the 1940s. It's like, okay, here are the aviators invented in 1937 or whatever it was. Is David Sterling wearing a pair of aviators. Like,
you're a fucking spotter.
Yeah. So there were a lot of people who were just getting really irate about things that they were wrong. And then it was BBC budget. So BBC budget is not huge, and people. There was a tank in one scene that was quite clearly an M60 mocked up to look like a German tank. It didn't look that much like a German tank, but it was supposed to be a German tank. A lot of people go, that's the wrong tank. It's like, we know it's the wrong tank. But for budgetary reasons, we shot on that tank for half a day in the middle of the Sahara, hundreds of miles from anywhere. If you think that the BBC is going to pay millions of pounds to get a World War II German tank into the desert to do that, then you're barking. That's your taxpayers' cash being paid. That's not how it works. And there's the convoy of trucks opening sequence. There's a massive convoy of trucks. The first 10 of those trucks are World War II trucks, genuine World War II trucks. The further back you go, the more modern they get, because they're in the background, they're blurred, and there's people going, that's a modern truck. It's like, stop looking at the background, enjoy the story. But some people just want to complain. So there was that. And then the other concern, which we've talked about before, was people were annoyed at the portrayal of a Paddy Mayne. So they don't feel that that's sort of representative of who the real guy was, which, you know.
I mean, I know we
fine.
discussed that before, when after that first series. Is that, has your understanding of things evolved since then about Paddy Mayne's portrayal in there? What are your thoughts on it changed at all?
Not really, no. I think, I mean, there are very many different versions of him, depending on who you talk to and what books you read. And he was an immensely complex man, which is quite clear. And I think certain parts of the TV show represent certain parts of him, but definitely not all of him as a whole. And the one thing I've been trying to get them to show more of is his leadership, his actual genuine innate leadership, which he clearly had in spades. So there have been moments where I've tried to tweak things a little bit more. As an advisor, your power to change things is quite limited. You can only advise and say, I think it should be this, I think it should be that. And you've got to have a really good reason to do it.
Especially when it comes to things like changing a character.
Exactly. And that's been written.
Changing the webbing on a soldier.
That's been written by somebody who is an exceptionally good writer and understands a character and what makes people want to watch something.
Yeah.
So the writer isn't writing something that is going to be historically pure. He's writing something that's going to make good TV. That's his number one aim. That's the production's number one aim. My aim is to, within the bounds of what they want to do, is try and get them to be more accurate where I can. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes budget, time, story, you can't. And so you do the very best that you can. But, you can't always win. So you've got to keep your powder dry. You've got to pick your moments and have a really good reason to say, I think this is incorrect and here's why. And some of those I've won, some of them I haven't. But that's just part of the job. But there's a lot of people that still quite hung up on the actor's height, as if the height changes who he is. But he's a character. He's playing somebody. It's more about how he behaves and acts. But there will always be people that won't be happy with that. But it's not for them. It's for the majority of people, and a lot of people really enjoy it. A lot of people don't. I personally preferred season 1 to season 2. My great uncle died in the SAS in World War II, and the events of his death are in the show. He was
in season 1.
In 2.
Oh.
In 2. There's a big incident in episode 4. Where I think it's the biggest loss of life the SAS have had in a single day. And they lost, I think, I can't remember now, somewhere in the medium 20s, 22, 25 blokes killed in one day. And he was one of those blokes. So I've got a very personal connection with season 2, but I prefer season 1. But most people do, but it's a necessity because season 1 is all very boys' own adventure, commando, a comic style. This is all a lot of fun by the necessity of what they're doing, but it touches on the darkness. There are situations where it's not all fun and games, where things get really dark. And season 2 goes a step further beyond that. Things are getting darker and people are struggling with that. Season 3 goes even further beyond that. It's less of jolly hockey sticks, isn't this fun, operating behind enemy lines, to this is what warfare is like. This is what men are forced to do. So it's a journey. And yes, people preferred the first one because it was more fun, but that's the necessity of the story, that it's going to get darker and darker and darker. And season 4, if it does happen, and I hope it does, season 4 will be going into things like Bergen-Belsen. So the SAS were one of the first people to find one of those camps. And it's horrific. And so these things, by necessity, if you're going to tell that story, have got to get darker. And so, yeah, we'll see how people like 3. I think 3 is really good. I think it's really good. I think it'll be better than 2. Not that 2 was bad, but I think people will then start to connect the dots and see where that story is going, because it's about what war does to people. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah,
interesting. What's your favorite production to have worked on?
Rogue Heroes is
Rogue Heroes,
awesome.
yeah.
Is awesome because depending on the production, like the most difficult productions are where you get brought on for one day midway through and you can't really change anything. The ship is going at pace and you can't do much to affect change. I've had some really fun jobs where I've not been asked to be on set, but been asked to help write the script, so write the dialogue. So we've got these army blokes doing this thing. How would they talk? What would they say? And I've been given a chance to write things. But Rogue Heroes is all encompassing. I'm involved from the very start. As soon as the scripts are produced by the writer, they get sent to the producers, the directors, and then me next. And we're poring over the scripts and going over the details. And so from front to back, so it's being cut together at the moment. So at some point I'll go into the studio and see the cuts and see what's been done with the story. And there's no other show that I get to do that, be involved from the start to the end. So I've got a bit more of a voice than I have on other productions. And yeah, I think that is, there's always little jobs that are really good fun. But my favourite job is that because the cast are brilliant, the crew are fantastic, and it's like being with family again. It's like another 6 months with family. So yeah, I think that's definitely my favourite one. But there's days when you have to kick yourself and think, I'm being paid to do this. I'm being paid to, drive jeeps around the desert, or I'm being paid to fire guns in a London tower block, whatever it might be.
Yeah,
it's the variety. But yeah, I really enjoy doing theatre as well. Theatre is a completely different beast.
Oh, you've advised on theatre stuff?
Yeah,
I didn't realise. What have you worked on there?
Recently we've been doing a few productions at the Globe. We've been doing Romeo and Juliet that was set in the 1800s in the US, which was set in a cowboy sort of western town. So it was all with cowboy guns. It was really good. I have to say, Romeo and Juliet is one of those productions that's done to death a little bit. And I've done 2 different versions of it. I've done one set in the 1930s in fascist Italy, which was really good because it was a different take on things. But this one had another level of stuff and it was done really well. And it was probably the best version of Romeo and Juliet I've seen. Really good fun. So there was that, and they were using cowboy revolvers. So it's all about, how they would use those, and there's gunfights in that. Then Midsummer Night's Dream, again at the Globe, but again with a bit of a spin on it. And there's a gun involved in that, which you wouldn't expect if you know the play. So there's things like that. A lot of Shakespeare, bizarrely, a lot of like modern day adaptations of Shakespeare. Richard III is always a popular one for the army. There's lots of stuff involved in that. The Henrys, there's lots of stuff involved in that. But it's different. It's fundamentally different because you are doing it live. Film and TV, you can stop, you can pause, you can set things up. You only have to get it to work once. Whereas theatre, you've got to get it to work every single time. It's got to be reliable, it has to be safe, it has to work for everybody, not just for one camera. You're working, and it's just a very different way of thinking. It's a very different way of operating.
Yeah, theatre. My dad worked in. My dad's side of the family in terms of TV and film and media and theatre and shit. And my dad worked in the Welsh National Opera backstage. I think he ended up as a gaffer. And so it's always kind of interested me. But I never really got into watching theatre or stage shows or even musicals until really over the last few years. And it never ceases to amaze me when something starts. I'm mainly shocked in a musical because of the choreography.
Yeah.
And I think also just, stage shows, like how the ability to remember this stuff. This is such a long thing that they're doing. They can't pause and go, what was my line?
Yeah.
They have to remember it and do all the actions and have enthusiasm doing it. When I say enthusiasm, I mean acting in the way you need to act. It takes a lot of energy, right? Day in, day out, for multiple shows a day sometimes. Obviously, multiple shows a week, day in, day out. Remember it all and nail it without skipping a beat. Well, very rarely making a mistake or making a mistake and the crowd not noticing. You're glossing straight over it. like improvising.
It's how you adapt. And
amazing.
One of my favorite ones was doing one of the Romeo and Juliets. There's a scene where Romeo and his friends go to the ball, and that's where he first meets Juliet. And he goes off to find her, and you have the famous speech on the balcony, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo, etc., etc. And his two mates are off chatting to one side, and they have an entire scene where they're talking backwards and forwards, drunk, about Romeo and what he's up to, the fact he's gone and met a girl, blah, 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 blah. It's just two blokes chatting. This one version of Shakespeare that I worked on, there was a woman who was playing one of the blokes' parts, because Shakespeare is famous for women's parts being played by blokes. So this was an inversion of that, and she was like the hilarious bloke you could possibly. She played like this proper lad in this scene, and this was only like a couple of weeks into the run, so they hadn't really got into the throw of things. The other bloke forgot to come on.
Oh no!
It's a 2-person scene, and the other bloke completely forgot to come on.
Oh my god!
So she was there on her own. So she decided to do the whole scene herself, as though she's talking to herself pissed.
Oh.
And nobody noticed. The audience didn't notice. I was sat there watching in the audience next to the director, and we both. And she was fantastic. She did both the lines, word perfect, and it worked like a drunk person debating with themselves. Brilliant, all improvised. So yeah, and that's the thing you have with the thing that you don't have with film and TV is a live audience to react to. So each show is different. Each show is different because you'll do something different, but the audience is different as well, and they make up a part of it. How they react to things changes the performance, and so it's unique. You'll never see that same play again. The next time it's done, it'll be subtly different, and so there's an excitement with theatre that it could go wrong. And it's really, really interesting what happens when it does go wrong and how people react to it. Some people react well to stress. Some folk don't.
There's a comment in the live chat, and it says there's a very funny play called
The Play That Goes Wrong.
That goes wrong.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I have.
Okay,
I
so
know some of the people.
me.
So The Play That Goes Wrong is a farce, and it is it's like an Agatha Christie murder mystery style play, and the conceit is being put on by an amateur dramatics company, and everything that can go wrong does. Like the scenery falls apart, people are in the wrong place for the wrong cues, and it just descends into madness. It's really funny. It's like it's chaos. It's utter chaos, but it's controlled, and it's all these stunts and the. Go and see it. It's so much fun. The team that do a number of different shows. They started with The Play Goes Wrong. They've got Peter Pan Goes Wrong. They've got Bank Robbery Goes Wrong. They've got all different plays, and they're all farces. They're all basically this amateur production company trying to put on these plays and it going badly. They've got a couple of shows on iPlayer as well, which is where they do. I think it's called The Show That Goes Wrong on BBC iPlayer. Go and watch them because they're funny. They're about half an hour long, and they're these stage plays. The stuff they do is magnificent. One of my favourite ones. The conceit is they've got a really long boardroom set that they don't have space to build, so somebody's built it at 90 degrees. so when you're watching it, it's like people passing people drinks, and they're like throwing it, and it's going down the table because obviously they turned the camera. Everyone's hair is out here. There's another one where the set is divided into two. There's two parts to the set, and the sets break and come back together. And what goes wrong is the wrong half of the set gets put together. So you've got a doctor's surgery on one side that's linked up with a flat on the opposite side. So nothing's in the right place. They're very, very smart because each one, the way that they go wrong is all very unique. It's really, really worth a watch. Really good fun.
I tell you what, I saw, like, the most recent thing I've been to watch is MJ, the musical. Have you been to see this?
No, I'm not a musical fan.
Neither am I, Bax. Neither am I.
Yeah.
But MJ, the musical, if someone had offered me, if I'd walked out of there and someone phoned me and said, Hugh, I've got a spare ticket for MJ, the musical tomorrow night. Do you want him? I would have gone, yeah.
Oh, really?
100%. I would have gone back to watch it the next day.
Oh, once you'd seen it. But why
It
did you go
was
to see it in the
so
first place?
Tickets through work,
Oh,
basically.
right, yeah.
Yeah, tickets through work. Went to see it, and within the first 90 seconds, I was already going, holy shit, this is special.
Yeah.
Because it was the complexity of the choreography, the number of the dancers on stage, and everything else that goes into putting on live production like that.
Yeah.
And it lasts for about an hour and a half. There's a break in the middle, maybe a bit longer than that. The pace, Bax, was just unreal. I go, how are they remembering the dancers, this entire sequence?
Yeah.
No one is fucking it up.
Yeah.
You know, no one's tripping over. No one's getting each other's way. And it was actually really enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a fan of Michael Jackson music, so
live stuff is brilliant because it's having a bit of a resurgence. It was struggling a lot in the build up to lockdown and with lockdown, but because film and TV is sort of struggling with streaming has meant that people can access it whenever they like. So somebody going to see a film in the cinema is becoming more of an event. You've got to persuade people to get off their butts to go and do it. Whereas theatre, you cannot get the theatre experience at home. You've got to go out to see it. So theatre is having a bit of a resurgence at the moment. But I recommend to people, go and find something that you think you might like and go and watch it.
I think if you've not done it
never
before,
been to
very rarely,
theatre,
go see anything. It really doesn't matter.
Go see the play that goes wrong. If you like comedy, if you like farce, go see things like that because there are some amazing plays.
Do you remember Grant Kilburn I interviewed in Kim's Your Place? Did you meet Grant?
I did, yeah. He did 222 A Ghost Story.
He did it. At that time, he was understudy for lead.
Yeah.
But now he's on it again now as the lead.
Is he?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Which one is he playing? Because there's two. There's for the people that haven't seen it, really good play. 2 male parts, 2 female parts.
You're asking me now. Grant Kilburn,
there's the husband and wife. It's all set in one London flat, one sort of house. Really good play. Really good play.
Ben. Playing Ben, whoever Ben is.
I can't remember I think Ben's the friend. I can't remember. But it's really good play. Really good play.
Yeah.
Four-hander. These 4 people in a flat. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good for him. I'm glad he's a mega guy. He's a mega guy.
Good.
What does he? Okay, what do you think of? So another question in the chat here. What do you think of theatre ticket costs?
Ooh, yeah.
They can exclude younger, poorer audiences. Anything.
Entirely agree. One of the things, so theatre tickets can be incredibly expensive, especially for big shows like sort of the Hamilton style stuff. That is, you're talking 100 plus.
What is that about?
Ticket. Hamilton.
Yeah.
Hamilton is about it's a musical based on the ascendancy of Alexander Hamilton, who was one of the not founding fathers, but one of the group of people that fought for American independence and set up the banking system and everything like that. Fascinating figure, but a really interesting way to learn a bit about US history post War of Independence, which a lot of Brits we don't really care about because it's when those lot cut away and ran. But it's quite an accessible way to get into it. It's quite a dry subject, but this is like rap and dance. It's really quite cool. You can watch it online. I think it's on Disney Plus.
Okay.
And the guy that choreographed it's called Lin-Manuel Miranda, who does a lot of the songs for Disney now. So a lot of things like Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Does the songs for who?
For Disney.
Disney.
Lots of the Disney films now. He does lots of songs for them. So yeah, you will have heard his stuff, even if you don't.
Theatre ticket costs.
Theatre tickets can be very expensive, but normally for those big West End shows that are very popular, which are tourist attractions. So Hamilton, all the big ones, the ones that you will have heard of. But there are so many other plays that are happening in smaller theatres that are much more accessible. They're also
often much more intimate.
Yeah, much more. I mean, I'm not a fan of a big theatre. I really like something small and intimate. And you can there's a theatre called the Non-Mile Warehouse, which is called the Warehouse, but it's actually quite small, and it's a very unusual theatre. But some theatres have got standing seats, You stand at the back and you get them for 10 quid. You can go and watch a play for 10 quid. So yes, I do think a lot of tickets are very expensive. And the problem is that it's not the performers, it's not the creative people who are performing that get that money. That money is all going on rent. It's all going to the very expensive people that produce the show. So, it's never getting to the people who are on stage. So for instance, Jess doing stage work, the amount that she gets paid for 2 hours of voice work is the same as she get paid for a week in theatre. That's the sort of level of the disparity in the pay there. Theatre is very low paid, but you can definitely get good priced tickets to go and see stuff. One of the ways you can do it is go up to the box office about half an hour before the show starts, and what they'll normally have is returns, so people that can't attend the show who've sent the tickets back in, and they'll sell them off at a song. I went to see The Book of Mormon, which is a brilliant show.
I've heard it's good, yeah.
Again, it's one of those big shows that would normally cost you 100 quid a ticket. We got like third row seats for 25 quid because we went into the box office just before it began and go, do you have some seats? So if you're willing to take a risk, you can actually get some really good seats. There are tickets for troops and that sometimes have discounted seats as well. There are ways to get cheaper seats. A lot of theatres will now do they'll do a certain number of accessible seats, so at a very low price, that get given out to people who don't go to the theatre much or can't afford it. But yeah, I do agree that some of them are extortionate, but it is. So the Michael Jackson one, for instance, if you go and look how much that is, I bet you that's sort of,
I think it was maybe 70 quid,
yeah, 75 quid,
yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
which is a lot.
I got a reduced rate. Which
Yes,
is
I'm sure you did.
I
Yeah.
ain't paying 70 quid for theatre tickets.
No.
Sorry.
But there are ways and means. I'm very fortunate because I work in theatre. I often get what's called comps. So there was a
Comps, darling.
comps.
No,
Yeah,
comps, darling.
comps. So I get free tickets to go and see shows that I've worked on. And you're normally going to see them during the dress rehearsals or during the matinees or during, quiet days where they've got spare seats. But yeah, there are ways to get them. But yeah, I do understand. And I think the modelling of how theatres make their money needs to be looked at, because the money's not going to the performers. It's being hoovered up by people at the top or paid on rent and things, because these massive London places have to pay taxes as well.
What's the stop? Yeah, I mean, but that's why I can see why the costs would be expensive, right? Or the low pay there, because the amount of money you generate is limited on how many bums on seats.
Yeah, exactly. Unlike a film that you can sell and sell and sell and sell.
Has anyone tried selling like a stream or a video production of a live play?
Yes. So there's something.
It doesn't work.
No, it does to an extent. There's something called NT Live. So the National Theatre will often either stream some of their shows live, or they have a streaming service where you can watch them. Similarly to watching Hamilton on Disney Plus, you can go and sit down and watch a recording of a show.
So Hamilton on Disney Plus is a recording of the show?
It is, yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why don't they all do that?
Because the big shows want to get people bums on seats, whereas selling it to streaming, they'll never get as much as they get with bums on seats. So they'll often do it for plays that have been and gone. So one of the plays I worked on called Good, which is an exceptional play with David Tennant. Again, it's a three-hander. It's all about the Holocaust. Or rather, it's all about...
What do you mean it's a three-hander?
A three-hander, and then there are three actors in it playing all the parts. So David Tennant plays one part throughout, and then there is a male performer and a female performer. Both of them are excellent.
And anyone else in the play is basically extras?
No, these people play all the other parts.
Okay.
So there's only three people in the play until the very end, which I will not spoil. But it doesn't involve, and it's not a huge cast. Good is on BBC iPlayer, and I'm not sure how or why it is, but it's on BBC iPlayer. I urge you to go and watch that, because that's a brilliant play. But yeah, it's that same thing with With cinema, it's how are they making their money? Are they making more money through people coming and sitting and watching it live, or are they making more money by selling it to a streaming site? And chances are, if you're selling it to a streaming site, you're going to do it at a lower cost. You're going to make less, but more people will see it.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking,
it's a more guaranteed
surely
number.
The additional exposure you get in doing that will generate more bums on seats and more value for the seats.
Yeah, it could do. It could do. But plays don't tend to run for that long. Plays will tend to run for a few months, maybe even 6 weeks. But big plays, like you see on the West End, like the Michael Jackson play, may run for years and years and years. So Book of Mormon's been going 10 plus years. I don't know. Les Mis went for 20 years. There's a play called The Mousetrap that's been running continually for 60 plus years. You know, there's and people go and see that all the time. I'm always fascinated by the funding model and how these things work and who gets what chunk of the pie, because part of the problem with streaming is that the money is kept at the executive level and not a lot of the creative people get the cash, which is another conversation for another time, because that's a big one. That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
We can go into it if you like, depending on how much time you've got.
Go for it. Let's do it.
So before streaming, the creatives, so the people that write it, the people that act and perform in things, would get something called residuals. So residuals were, take something like Friends, for instance. Every time Friends was repeated on Channel 4, the people that wrote it, the actors, the directors, depending on what kind of deal they had, what kind of contract they had, would get a residual, a payment. And it didn't have to be much, but it was enough to keep them afloat. Because actors don't act all the time and they will have gaps, but all the residuals be enough to sort of pay them, like drip feed cash into their bank account. And the BBC still does it, but a lot of it was based on viewing numbers. So they'd say, right, if we got this number of people watching it, you'd get paid this much. If we had more than that, you'd get paid that much. And it would be a tiered payment depending on how many people watched it. And the viewing figures were collated, and they were very easy to say, right, this is how many people, or the number of households that watched it. With the advent of streaming, a couple of things happened. The main one was companies like Netflix were extremely reluctant to give out the data of how many people were watching their things.
They still don't do it now, do they?
They still don't do it. The reason why they don't do it is because it affects their share price. If it was known publicly that a show that, you know, they paid millions for, only, you know, a couple hundred people watched, then it would negatively affect their share price quite quickly. So, and also because it isn't like how do you pay somebody based on if somebody's watched the whole thing, if somebody started watching something, you know, where do you say, right, that is one watch?
Things,
it makes it much more complex. Anyway, at the start of this, actors' contracts, there's a big thing in the US called SAG-AFTRA. SAG-AFTRA contracts are renegotiated every 5 or 6 years. So they happened back in 2024, but before that was 2018, when streaming didn't exist really. It had just started, so Netflix was the only thing on the block. So there was no negotiation for streaming rights within those contracts. Now streaming is the dominant thing, and so streaming got away with not paying residuals for a long time. But everybody got to the point where they were like, we're not happy with this. We are now unable to keep going with our jobs because we're not getting any residual payments, because everything we do ends up on streaming. One of the first big court cases was Scarlett Johansson and the Black Widow movie, the first one. That came out 2020, just as lockdown was starting to hit. A lot of her payment was tied up on what we call the back end. So depending on how many bums on seats that film gets, she'll get a percentage of that. Disney decided to release it straight onto streaming, which of course reduced the number of people that got the bums on seats, and her deal had nothing to do with streaming in there because streaming deals didn't exist yet. So she sued them because it massively negatively affected how much cash she got for that film. And she said, look, I don't need the money. I'm not doing this for that. I'm doing this because if I don't, nobody else will. And this needs to be, for the people coming up, this needs to be stopped now. So how performers and actors and creatives get paid is a real problem, because at the moment what tends to happen is the money is being kept at studio level. The studios are now being run by business people, and they always have been to an extent, but the money is now held at a much higher level. If you look at any film on Netflix and look at the number of executives that are listed, they're all getting some money off the back end of it, which reduces how much everybody else is being paid. So it's a tricky industry because of that.
Yeah, and it's been changing so fast.
Yeah,
it's so fast,
and AI will change it more.
Yeah, and the only people that can keep up without changing and capitalize in a big way on how it's changing are the people at the top where.
Yeah, they've become
right?
film studios have turned into tech companies, because that's essentially what they are. They're providing the tech platform that allows you to watch them. Yeah, it's the industry in the short time I've been in it for 10 years now. It's all manner of changes, and I think we're going to see some more in the next 5 years as well.
I was talking to the previous guest, Freddie, about what he thought about where basically how the length of films will be or is being impacted by streaming and people's attention spans. And I mentioned to him about, did you see the thing about Matt Damon saying that? We need you to reiterate the plot, being reminded to people because people are not paying attention, viewing at home on their phones. It's absolutely true. I do the same thing as well. I get totally distracted, and it's very rare for me to get myself to sit there and pay all my attention to one thing if I'm on my own. For a couple of hours. If I'm with someone watching something,
it's easier because they go, put your phone away, you dickhead.
Well, but also, that. But also, I don't want to have it out because I don't want to get told that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like a dick because I'm not spending quality time.
So Netflix developed something a couple of years ago called second screening. So second screening was a strategy that meant that none of their shows could be that complicated, because what they were seeing was people were looking down at their phones, scrolling, looking back and being lost. So they said, right, we need shows to be simpler. We need people. So they started designing TV shows.
Netflix.
Second screening. Netflix started it, but I expect other people were doing it as well. But basically dumbing down shows so that people would watch them but not get lost if they were looking at their phone, which is another reason why theatre is brilliant, is because you are immersed. You are in that world. Phones off for 2 hours. You sit there and you watch. And another reason why people don't go and see films is because they don't want to be cut off for 2 hours. I can't think of anything I would like more than being switched off from my phone for some time. It's great. But yeah, so this was their tactic. I don't know if it still is, but things like what Matt Damon was saying reiterate that, is that they don't want things to be super complicated, or they have the majority of their stuff, they have a tier where they want it to be easy watching. They don't want it to be challenging. This is why you have recaps at the start of things now. Like, this is what happened last episode, which you have just watched. We know you've just watched it because we just binged it, but you probably weren't paying attention, and there's an important plot point that you'll need to know for this one. Otherwise, you will be lost. I hate them because the minute you start watching an episode, you know that whatever they show you is going to be important for the one you're about to watch. So I always skip them or put my fingers in my ears and la my way until it actually starts, because otherwise it's like hint, hint, pay attention.
One of the toughest films I've tried to get a grip on and understand was Tenet.
Oh, I knew you were saying Tenet.
Right, so and I understand now why you can't get a grip on it, right? And I watched it. I've seen this film 3 times. First time, I was in the cinema drunk. The second time, I was at home half drunk.
Yeah.
The third time, I was like, right. I like stop drinking at that point. Like, right, focus, watch it. I was like, what the fuck? And the film's entertaining. Yeah. I understand the plot.
Yeah.
But where it breaks me is I'm literally trying to understand it scientifically.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go, right. How does this work with the time and spit and
I
what?
need to watch it again because I went to see it with Jess during lockdown because it was one of the few films that was released during lockdown. I went to see it with Jess. We'd had a few drinks, so I wasn't pissed, but I was lubricated, let's say. Jess walked out of it about a quarter of the way through because she's like, I can't understand a word they're saying. I can't understand. And she got really angry. And when I met up with her afterwards, she went on a 20-minute rant about Christopher Nolan.
I think my problem is I think the problem is you can't. It's not possible to logically make the science work of the film.
I don't know. I kind of agree with you. I think there's a couple of different ways to watch it. Way number one is just let it wash over you. Don't try and stop and think and work it out. And any other science fiction film, you really want to do that. You want to understand how the world works, especially with time. Anything like Looper, anything like Back to the Future, you're sort of working out, oh, that's how it works. If he does that, that happens. Whereas this one, you everything was going at such a pace and with so little explanation that you literally couldn't. So your options were let it wash over you and just take it at face value and enjoy it, or pause it and go, right, fetch me a whiteboard. I need to draw this through. But yeah, I watched it and I was trying to follow it, and I got to the halfway point and thought, I'm just going to have to watch this. I can't work it out as I go because I'm missing things. The dialogue was so hard to understand, and apparently that was intentional, but it was so difficult to understand. I need to watch it again, but there are certain bits that I think it was one of those things that visually was very cool. There was a bit where he's fighting himself as he's going forward, and he fights himself going backwards. And I was trying to work out how that would possibly work, and it just makes your brain hurt. And it wasn't an enjoyable experience until I just went, let go, just watch it. And then it was quite fun and cool, but I like things to make sense. And so it did annoy me. It confused me. I need to see it again. I need to see it and be able to pause it. But yeah,
I think I'd made so much effort trying to understand it because I enjoyed the film.
Yeah.
And I love Kenneth Branagh. And I like Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. I'd never seen him in anything really up until that point. Twilight, I accidentally watched about 6 seconds of Twilight. No. I was going through the channels.
Filthy for doing so.
Yeah. I was flicking through the channels and accidentally caught like literally 6 seconds, and it's the bit where he walks out into the sunlight and goes, "This is why we don't go out into the sunlight." Now, me, being a fan of all films and books, know that vampires don't go out into the sunlight because they burst into flames. No, they sparkle. In that world, they sparkle. That's why they don't go out into the sparks. Off, bump. Yeah. And that was literally it. That was the 6-second bit I caught. Yeah. So and the Harry Potter films as well. I didn't have any interest in him at all as an actor. Then when I saw Tenet, I was like, oh, actually, he's really good. And then I saw him in The Lighthouse as well.
Oh, what a film.
What a film. Yeah.
What a film.
Great film. Yeah.
Willem Dafoe, one of my favourite actors.
Yeah.
One of my favourite actors.
Great film.
Yeah, go on.
And then he was really good in The Batman. I thought one of the things that you never get from Batman is how is he functioning as a human being? Because he's up all night. And that one, he wasn't. You could see in the way his performance was, that bloke was on the edge the entire time. He was.
I need to watch it again. I've seen it once and I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah.
I remember it being different.
Yeah, he's unable to function during the day because he's up at night. And that's what you don't really get from the other films. So yeah. Yeah. The ending I didn't like so much, but I thought his performance was brilliant.
So a couple of months back, for some reason, I was after watching something like a bit melancholy, and I went to revisit a couple of films I'd watched before and kind of half remembered and think, oh yeah, that's the kind of film I'm after, and got it catastrophically wrong twice. And once, I tell you another story actually in a minute about. I got another story. Let me write this down. 1 second. So the first one I revisited was a Robert Pattinson movie called High Life. You ever heard of it?
No.
No, not many people have. It's a sci-fi movie. It's Robert Pattinson on a spaceship, a spaceship doing experiments on humans. Right?
Yeah.
They're all convicts. They're all like bad people on there, and they go into space on a long journey mission. There's no hope of coming back, kind of thing. It's extremely dark.
I have heard of it. I can remember the
really
visual.
Worth a watch.
I can remember seeing pictures of it.
When I first watched it, I watched it as a bunch of other sci-fi movies that have been recommended to me as like they're not really well known. Alongside The Platform, I watched The Platform. Have you seen that?
Great film. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So High Life is it's a good film, but it's dark, like real dark. It sort of questions morality and the stuff that's been done. And I love sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
On the subject of which, coming out soon is Project Hail Mary.
Yes.
Have you read the book?
No, I haven't.
I've recently finished the book.
Have you?
Superb.
Now, I know a lot of people who had read the book were really miffed at the trailer because the trailer gives away something that happens quite.
Really? I watched the trailer.
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm not going to say it just in case. But yeah, Ryan Gosling is one of those actors I will watch doing absolutely anything. He's really good. He's really fun to
I would
watch.
let him do actually anything. So say that out loud. Is that on air? God damn it.
Drive is one of my favourite films. I love Drive. So good. Drive, the end of Drive.
So anyway, you mentioned a second film on this other story I'm going to tell you. So that was run. I started watching High Life again. And I thought, oh God, this is too dark. Not what I was after. This is like, I wanted melancholy, not,
Yeah.
Okay, then I went to another of my favourite actors to rewatch one of his films, Casey Affleck.
Oh, yeah.
And I put on Manchester by the Sea.
Oh, God.
Have you seen this film?
I haven't, but I know about it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, my God.
You were really in a dark mood, weren't you?
My God. Brilliant film. Absolute torture all the way through.
Yeah.
I don't mean someone getting tortured. I mean, it is so depressing.
Yeah.
It's not dark. It's depressing.
I know what you mean. Sometimes you're in that mood. Sometimes you really want to be.
Oh, man.
I
watched this all the way through because it's so good. And you go, oh, my God.
Can I give you a recommendation for a film? The Ballad of Wallace Island.
Okay.
The Ballad of Wallace Island.
Okay,
it's a British film, independent film, written by two guys, Tom Basden and Tim Key. If you've heard anything they've done, it is one of the. It's a British independent film.
Okay.
And it's just so good.
Wallace Island. Okay, I write it down.
Yeah.
So my little anecdotes. You mentioned Drive, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, my missus, not someone who just sit down and spend a lot of time watching films, and I do like doing that, and and she does enjoy it. She's just not something she do often. So I've been trying to introduce her to, my extensive film knowledge. Sometimes I missell things. She's someone who she likes happy, romantic, not like violent,
gritty stuff.
So
how did you sell Drive to her? Is this where we're going with this?
a romantic film. It's a romance, it's a love story.
I mean,
she said love story. I mean, that's an element of it.
It kind of is.
If she asked her, she would say they don't even kiss.
The relationship.
They don't even kiss
no,
back. They don't even kiss back.
But the relationship between them is beautiful.
Yeah, but also it's extremely violent.
Yeah. One of my favourite scenes in that is when they're in the lift.
The love story is a side story.
Yeah, when they're in the lift and it's done in slow-mo and he moves towards her and he slides his hand on her waist and then it goes violent.
For the first, hang on.
What's she talking about? They do kiss.
He did kiss.
They do kiss.
He did kiss. Yeah.
And then the violence happens.
And then he just becomes
absolutely,
ultra violent.
Takes that guy out of town. Yeah. But it's that switch from one to the other, and it's just it's that sort of as he moves her out of the way, it's that sort of protection, and then he goes for him.
Okay,
and
the second one,
the hammer,
the hammer,
the hammer.
The second one, mate, which I sold, and in my defense, so Drive, I deliberately misled her.
Yeah,
because I love that film.
Yeah,
this one, I misremembered it. I hadn't seen it for a long time. And I sold it as an uplifting film.
Yeah.
And this is Shawshank Redemption. Right.
Now, I
Right.
know what you mean, because
Right.
the ending is very Hollywood, very uplifting.
But Bags, the only uplifting bit of that entire film is the last 10 seconds.
The
And it's
last
literally 10 seconds.
And I think that's the worst bit of the film. I think the film should have stopped with him on the bus. Morgan Freeman being on the bus.
Maybe.
Because then it's like, what's going to happen? You don't know.
I don't know.
And yeah, I think that ruins it. I
For people
think
who
it's a
haven't
very
seen
Hollywood
The
ending.
Shawshank Redemption in a long time, and I'm sat there with her, we're watching this film, and within the first minute, I think it's within the first minute, there is the violent death of a man at the hands of a prison guard who beats this helpless, fat, like, frightened guy to
Little
death.
fishy,
To death on screen.
Yeah.
Right? Then shortly after that, there is a gang rape.
Yeah.
And that repeats throughout the film.
Yeah.
You've got the
doesn't get any better.
It doesn't get any better. That's the set of the film. But when that started, I was like, oh God, it's the dumbest thing.
But it's a film.
No.
It's a film about hope.
Oh my God, mate. Yeah, but then you've got people,
hope that doesn't happen to
people
me.
hanging themselves.
Yeah.
You've got the prison warden lying. You've got extorting the prisoners.
Yeah.
You've got what else have you got?
The guy being shot.
The what?
The guy being shot.
The guy being shot.
When there's hope, and that hope gets
the guy being
away.
shot.
Yeah.
It is. Oh God! It's just horrific all the way through. Horrific all the way through.
But it's got those glimmers. There are those moments that are glimmers of hope.
Yeah, but then immediately after, there's something hideous.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
What is
great
going on?
film?
Yeah,
great film. Originally, when it came out, was not a success. It was only a success later on tape and DVD. Yeah. But when it came out, was not a financial success.
No.
Yeah. And I think it was based on a short story by Stephen King. Yes, it was. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. What's happening in Bags World anyway? What is going on in Bags World? We've spoken about Jess World. We've spoken about TV and film world.
Well, it's
What's
been
happening
very,
in Bags
very
World?
busy. I've been for the past 18 months or so, I've been in between the film work, because film work goes from periods where you're absolutely maxed out to periods when you're doing nothing. I've been doing a little bit of work in the defence sector, which has been.
You don't have to do this big reveal if you don't want to.
Well, no, I have started a new job, which I wasn't intending. I didn't seek out. I wasn't intending on starting a new career, but I was offered. Second,
a prison guard. No.
But no, I was offered
driver.
I was offered a job. I was offered two jobs actually, and I had a very difficult choice about which one, if either of them, to take. But I have accepted a job with a British engineering firm called DCE, who make UGVs. For those people who've never heard the term UGV before, it's uncrewed ground vehicles. So if you imagine drones for the land. So these things are basically baby tanks, and they are incredibly mobile. They can carry a lot of weight. You can put whatever you like on the top of them. You can control them remotely, and they are brilliant. And the military, I think, at the moment is in a very similar to position to where it was in the 1930s, in the fact that technologically it has sort of fallen behind, and other reasons as well why we might be in a 1930s style situation. But technologically, between World War I and World War II, the British, despite inventing tanks in the first place, sort of kind of fell behind with tank warfare. And so when World War II started, the British tanks were not very good. They were designed for a different kind of warfare. And I think we're in a similar situation at the moment with drones and UGVs, in the fact that not a lot of money in the UK has been spent on developing a UK solution. So over the last 20 years, the British forces have gotten smaller, less well funded, and so we've had to rely on getting our technological solutions from other nations. And if anything, the last year or two have shown that the traditional what would you call it? Sort of power sharing and technology sharing and information sharing that has happened throughout the West can no longer be relied on as it has been. And if the UK doesn't speed up its homegrown tech, it might fall behind. So that's, the last sort of 18 months have shown me that we've been sort of sat back crossing our fingers that things are going to get better, and really they haven't. So it's sort of, I think it's about time. And people are realising this, that we need to spend a bit more on defence, potentially. If we're going to compete at the level that we've tried to over the last 60 years, we need to spend a bit more. Otherwise, we're going to get left behind. Or at least spend better, perhaps. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree that we should be less reliant on the relationships and allegiances and power sharing, information sharing, technology sharing that we've had for the benefit of for the last, since the Second World War.
They've become less reliable, certainly.
They've become less reliable, but our reliance on it is not become less. You know,
because we don't have another option yet.
Yeah, but we made that bed for ourselves, right? By not investing inward on it, you know, and also the as obvious, it should be obvious to everyone, given the news every day for the last nearly 10 years now, geopolitical stability, and it is probably the lowest level it's been since the since the 70s, maybe. 70s, maybe.
Not being as old as you, Hugh. No, in fact, we worked this out. You and I.
I'm born in the 80s, mate.
Yeah. When were you born? 1980?
Well, let's just say the 80s. 81.
84. Yeah. So
you're 84.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, but it's difficult because we live in an era now where we get so much more information than we ever have done before. There is a tendency to think that things are much worse than they ever have been, but that's because we're more aware of things. But I think you're right. I think we are in a very unstable position at the moment, simply because after World War II, the two power blocks that came about was NATO in the West and Russia and the a communist sector. And that was what the Cold War was all about. It was those two sides that were too big to ever go to war, fronting off against each other. Before World War II, the world was a lot more fractured and broken down into a lot smaller pockets. And that sort of changed in the lead up to World War I and post World War I as well.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
Well, what were the US doing in the 1930s?
But the US is the US. When you look at when you look at Europe and this side of the pond, you had the British Empire and the Ottoman Empire. It wasn't it was just a different set of big.
There were lots of smaller. There was the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Yeah.
There was lots of little empires. There were lots of little groups of people teaming up because of common interests at the time. But those were constantly changing, constantly evolving, one in, one out. But I think we've, in a similar way that our political system has always really been a 2.5 party kind of system, but really a 2-party system. What we're now seeing is that fracturing into lots of smaller parties. And we're seeing that globally. So we're seeing the two big blocks, which was NATO and Russia, now starting to collapse. And I think what you're going to have coming out of it, and smarter people have said a lot more on this, but I think you're going to end up with at least 4 blocks. You're going to end up with America being north and south as one block. You're going to come out with Europe. You're going to come out with Russia, and you're going to come out with China. That's basically the 4 main blocks. There will be other blocks as well, and Australia will probably lump in with Europe because that's ideologically where they are aligned. So it'll be NATO without the States, and maybe a couple other countries will break off as well. But you're going to have, it's not going to be a 2-party game. It's going to be smaller groups. That's where I see it going. But going back to what we were saying before, it means we can no longer rely on those previous partnerships as we have done. We've got to be a lot more resilient at home. And so hopefully we do that before it's too late.
Yeah. I mean, you said something earlier on, which was, or just a few moments ago, which was, more information being presented. So it kind of, things may look worse than what they are.
Yeah.
But maybe, but you could also say that it gives you the ability to make a much better judgment of what is really going on.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to someone earlier, and just probably about 2 weeks ago, for about 2 weeks, I was like I was in like genuinely a bad place in terms of how secure I felt the world to be, and thinking about my children's future, my future as well, but my children's particularly, right? Because it seems so unstable at the minute, and things seem so disconnected, but also I do believe, so when we look at America and the way America are behaving at the minute, which isn't great for most other countries, like really, if we're generalizing, right? But it is one of the things it is with America's interests in mind. Not the only thing, Trump is Trump, and people are people, and they have their own interests as well, right? But I do believe that most countries at the minute should be putting themselves first above these big allegiances that don't seem to be working very well. EU, for example, I don't think that works very well, and that is being evidenced by its gradual decline in its stability over the last 20 years. I think this is what I think, and I think Britain should put ourselves first above all else, like I think Germany should, like I think America should, like I think everyone should, within reason. All right, within reason. But the conflict is that also leads to conflict. That also leads to instability. But on which way is the best way to go about it? But I literally had, and it was after a couple of conversations with my youngest about different things, politics and stuff like that, and which she's starting to think about and talk about. And I realised that I think the second half of our lives, like the age we are, you're younger, yeah, you're younger. We're in. I think the next 30 or 40 years, Bags, is gonna be worse than anything that's happened since the Second World War. I genuinely do, in the Western world. I genuinely do. I know some people who are close to me and are perhaps better informed than me, who fully expect to be in the trench for the next 5 years. Fully expect it to be in the trench for the next 5 years. That is extreme end. Yeah. Right? I expect us to be at war next 10 to 15. When I say us, I mean Britain. I generally do. Whether that's internal or that's fighting externally, I don't know. I just know there is fucking crazy times coming.
I think we're very lucky in the fact that we are an island. And I was thinking about this. It sort of struck me about a year ago. Britain's always been an island. Its borders haven't changed because they can't change. They are by necessity. They are the borders of the island that we're in. The only thing we have done is join England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales together, successfully in some cases, less so in others. But when we've been invaded, we've been taken over. Nobody's been taking chunks out of our border. Nobody's been trying to push into a region and take that. Nobody's been cutting off East Anglia from, the rest of the UK. So we've got like a little fortress, like a little island that is incredibly difficult to get to.
Not as difficult as it used to be.
No, not as difficult.
Especially when you're talking about unmanned vehicles.
Yeah. But it's still, in order to do it, you've got to take it all. You can't just take a chunk of it, like a border that moves, like the Donbass or anything like that. And we're in a position where we're not really in Europe. We're sort of slightly outside of it. So we're in a very lucky position where we can do what we like and we can isolate ourselves. Not saying that's the best way to go, but we could do that if that's what was required. And the rest of the world can sort of hack it out. And interesting, I was watching 28 Years Later last week.
I've never seen it. I've seen 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
I've never seen the
28 Days Later is brilliant, groundbreaking at the time. But unlike most really good horror, groundbreaking, but then it sort of pales into insignificance because most other things have copied and done what it's done again and again and again. So the original seems weak, if that makes sense. So Psycho, if you go back and watch Psycho, Psycho was a groundbreaking film. Groundbreaking film, mostly because before then, I think we've talked about 50s, this before. Psycho's 50s, I think. Yeah. Before we've spoken about this before. Before Psycho, people would just turn up and sit down in the cinema and watch a film from the midway point and would wait for it to come back around again. No. Psycho was the first film where Alfred Hitchcock went, no, it's going to have a start time. And if you're not there at the start time, you're not going to get let in. You've got to watch the whole film.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But if you watch Psycho now, there's some bits that are a bit laughable because every horror film you've seen since has copied, aped it, improved on it, based itself upon it. So 28 Days Later was the first zombie film that had running zombies. Everything before that, zombies were slow and shambling. So 28 Days Later was very different. But now lots of zombie films are like that. 28 Weeks Later, which was the sequel that came out a couple of years after, has an amazing opening sequence that is genuinely terrifying. And like, I watched just that start sequence a couple of nights ago and it put me on edge straight away.
I'll have to watch it.
Good.
I'll have to watch
that. That first bit is brilliant.
Yeah,
the rest of it goes into sort of generic sort of action film. 28 years later, there's two films, 28 years later, and then there's 28 years later, The Bone Temple. 28 years later I've seen and is much more like 28 Days Later to begin with, and then it goes off and does things, but it's much more like that to begin with. And then Bone Temple I've not seen, but apparently that's really good. But again, what it reminded me of is that in those films, the UK gets a cut off from the rest of the world. It gets isolated and left alone. And there are pros and cons to that. I think everything goes in a pendulum. And we've had globalization over the last, 200 years where the world has gotten smaller due to sort of things like planes and everything else like that. It's been easier to get to places. And therefore the world has gotten smaller and these bigger conglomerations have appeared. And now I think we're going to go the other way. The pendulum's going to swing against that and the world's going to get larger again. So it's going to be more difficult to go around the world, I think. But there we go. We're seeing it change.
Hope is just put in the chat. Are you, and he says, are you and Ben going to be part of the UK military fighting you reservists raised to 65 by Al Cairns? Well, it's opt-in for us because we're already out. We can opt into that.
So a couple of interesting things on this. I have seriously considered rejoining the reserves because when I left the regular army, I transferred to the reserves, did it for a bit. But I've had that same sort of feeling that I need to be doing my bit. Same thing that made me join up in the first place. What I would be doing as an older, fatter man, I don't know. But fully prepared to sort of...
You keep fit, though.
I don't. Look at me.
I gave you the option there.
Cornish pasties.
I gave you the option there to save yourself.
No, I wish I did. I just don't. I hate fizz, always have. That's why I'm a tanky. I like to be driven everywhere.
My God.
No, I would seriously consider rejoining. But also, the thing I'm now doing with UGVs is sort of ticking that box for me as well. It's making sure that I'm doing my part. Mm-hmm. I don't know what a British army looks like in the next 10 years. If we do get involved in a wide-scale conflict, I think at the moment we're completely unprepared for it. We've given away a lot of our kit. We are in between a lot of programs where we've given up or mothballed a bit of kit and we don't have the next thing yet. Things like Ajax versus DVRT, Challenger 2, we don't have enough of those. We've given some away. Challenger 3 is not ready yet. Guns, we've given away all of our guns. All the AS90s are gone, and we've got a couple of archers, which I know are a stopgap.
Bags is referring to artillery pieces as opposed to rifles, small arms, machine guns.
The technical term, gun being a big gun. Yeah. even the SA-80. The SA-80 is reaching the end of its lifespan.
They've chosen a replacement, haven't they?
Not yet, no. Project Greyburn is the replacement for it. They haven't picked it yet. It's likely going to be an M4 style platform, but then the options they're looking at are built in the States or in Germany. It's like, again, going back to the resilience aspect of it, do we want to be reliant on another nation for our arms? The Enfield factory, close to where I live now, the Enfield factory shut down in the 90s. Is it time that the UK started building guns again? We've outsourced all of this stuff to other nations. The army's outsourced a lot of the stuff that it does because it just doesn't have the manpower. The army used to build all its houses. The engineers used to build the houses. The army used to have all of its chefs. All of these things the army used to have that it's gotten rid of over the last 20 years in cuts. And it's cut it back and back and back and back to the bare bones. We've got a division on paper. We're supposed to have 2. We used to have 3. It's like, we are not a proper fighting force at the moment. This is a real 1938 moment where it's like, do we want to go to war? Let's avoid going to war unless we absolutely have to. Oh, bugger, we absolutely have to, and we're slightly on the back foot. So it is interesting times.
I'm not confident we're going to have a stable remainder of our lives. I find it interesting to see what's going to unfold, but
what job would you like to do if you joined up again now in the reserves? What job would you like to do? Presumably you wouldn't want to be a para again.
I'd go back in the reg. You'd be a sniper again. 100%.
You go back to be a sniper.
100%.
Yeah. So sniper rather than a regular Tom.
Yeah, no. I mean, well, if I could choose a role, it'd be sniper. If I could choose a ranked different question.
Oh no, not.
But I love my hearing. I mean, right now, I can't join my hearing. But I think that would go out the window because they would lower the thresholds for what would be appealing. I can have a conversation with you here, no problem. They would make exceptions.
Oh yeah.
But
the other thing was, I was considering this. I went to Estonia the first 2 weeks in January, which was eye-opening because wasn't that far away from the Russian border, and the Estonian outlook on things is very different, and I think that'll be where Britain has to get to soon. But as I was there, I was thinking about this idea of rejoining the reserves in a capacity, and I got an email from Glasgow saying, "Would like you to select your next job in the reserves." I was like, "The fuck?
Really?
I haven't been in the reserves for a decade. Like, what the hell?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought I'd left the reserves. Turns out I didn't. Technically, I'm still in the reserves somewhere.
Wow.
Which is a bit of a shock to me.
Yeah.
So I may not have a choice. I may be. But the UGV stuff, I think, is going to be really key. So I'm really glad to now be sort of moving into an area that's going to make a difference. So the company I work for, DCE, their motto is keeping people out of harm's way. So basically putting UGVs in to do the jobs that are dangerous and the soldiers would have to do and making it easier. And I think it's a really good aim. So so I'm sort of happier now that I've got something where I'm doing a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting, mate. Sounds exciting. Right. Bags. We've got loads of questions to get through, so I want to get on to those now. Okay, so
rapid fire. Give me how long I've got to answer them as well.
fine for time.
Okay, great.
Fine for time.
Yeah.
Let me.
I like these. They've been some really good ones. So thank you to everybody that's sent them in because they've been really thought provoking.
Okay. So looking at the questions again. Oh, okay. There's one in the chat which just came in, which is: has Ben ever seen a film called Man Bites Dog, a Belgian black comedy?
Oh, somebody recommended it to me. I can't remember who it was. Man Bites Dog. It's supposed to be really good. And I can't remember what it's about, but I've been recommended it. So I haven't seen it, would like to, because apparently it's brilliant.
Okay, I've written that down as well.
Yeah.
Right. Let's look. So, to what extent does the creative industry listen to your advice?
The
whole industry. When you're talking at the industry.
Yeah. So listen to it, yes, 95% of the time.
Act on it.
Acting on it, less. And it's because it depends what the goal is. And there are many people involved in a production, many people with input, and many people have a different view on what's important and what's not, or what they're trying to achieve. So my approach to giving advice, I always explain this like a golf caddy. Okay, your game of golf. If you want to hit every hole with the putter and just go up and down and have a great game, that's entirely up to you. I'll advise you for this shot, it's probably better to use that one, but it's entirely up to you if you take my advice or not. And the worst advisors, the people that come into this cold, get really angry and stamp their feet when people don't take advice. That's the wrong way to play it, because you're not being helpful. The best way to do it is sort of take a step back and understand what the production's trying to achieve. So a theatrical production doesn't have to be 100% realistic. It will skip certain things, it'll combine certain things, it'll gloss over certain things, or it may use situations that are slightly unrealistic in order to tell the better story. Now, to some people, that won't be a better story because they want to see things 100% accurate. Or some people, it can cause cognitive dissonance where they go, that wouldn't happen because of this and this and this. Chances are, any production that I've ever been involved in, that's been pointed out by numerous people numerous times. But it's that way, it is the way that it is because that's the way they want it to be to tell the story. There was one show I worked on just doing script stuff where it was being converted from a US book to a UK story. So the original book was set in the US soldiers, blah, blah, blah. They were setting it in the UK and therefore wanted to convert the plot into the UK. There were certain things that just didn't work in a UK plot. Things about people owning guns, people with access to guns, anything like that. So I presented all of this and said, look, in reality, this is how it would work. And they would go, okay, that's great. We hear you. We understand. We can't have that because it needs to work this way for the script, for the story. So great. So how much do they listen? Usually 100%. I mean, you do the occasional person that doesn't, but it's how much they can change or want to change depending on what they're trying to achieve. There are numerous conversations I have where, even the way that a soldier speaks. Soldiers speak in TLAs all the time, 3-letter acronyms, 3-letter abbreviations. Sometimes that's really good and they really want that for like chatter on the radio, stuff like that, make it feel authentic. Sometimes if it's a plot point, it's like, no, we need to spell it out. We can't use the acronym. We need to explain to the audience who won't know what the acronym is, what it actually is. So radio chatter is one of those things that, depending on who's doing it at what point of the story, can change from very authentic. Sometimes they go over the top. This is sometimes writers will go over the top and everything will be a 3-letter acronym. It's like, well, actually, 3-letter acronyms are useful, but that's not how we speak 100% of the time. So sometimes you have to dial it back. It's part of the job. You have to have a broad back and accept that not everything you say is going to. There was a historical advisor on the radio who was saying, I would rather people make informed errors so they know they're making an error and there's a reason why, rather than an uninformed one.
Yeah.
The end result may be the same, but it's how you get there.
But yeah. Okay, another question from Coke. Hugh said Tony Blair is a ninja. Do you agree? And what politicians do you like?
Do I agree that he's a ninja? As in what sense? As in wearing pajamas and
extremely
kung fu
effective
swords?
No, an extremely effective politician and parliamentarian.
Yeah, I don't like him as a person. In the same vein, there's lots of politicians that I don't like. There's lots of people I don't like, but they're very effective at what they do. Yeah, no, I think he was very effective at what he did. I wouldn't. There are certain things that he did poorly, that have come back to bite him.
Like
Going into Iraq, one of them.
Well, he didn't do it poorly. It was an absolute decision that he did. So he made the decision that he wanted to go into Iraq to support the Americans, and then he decided that he needed to tell the public that that's what we needed to do to support his decision. It's like the opposite way around of democracy, which is what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
On false information, which he knew was false, and then went and did it.
Yeah. So I would say that's...
I wouldn't say it was poor. He executed it perfectly.
He did what he thought was the right thing to do. But yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult for anybody to give somebody credit for stuff that they don't agree with.
Yeah.
So
true.
Trump, for instance, there are. I do not like Trump or anything that Trump does, but I can still give him credit, ticks in the boxes for the way that he does it can be very effective. Whether or not I agree with how he does it, but I can recognize that how he does it works.
That is the attitude everyone should have.
Yeah.
When they look, when you should have the ability to objectively judge anyone, regardless of whether they make you fucking skin crawl or not.
It's difficult to take a step back from
it's
that.
Difficult, yeah.
But
difficult, yeah.
We should be able to do that.
Yeah,
I don't like how he does things, but I can't argue that they are.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got questions from David. Here we go. Right. You've worked on some of the biggest productions in the UK. And what do you find is more difficult to choreograph? A firefight on set or a conversation with a director who thinks safety catch off is a character note?
Ooh. Now, it's rarely just the director. So when you are talking about a character notes, it can be something that the actor might want to do. It can be something that the director wants. It can be something that the production wants. It can be something that the writer wants. There's all sorts of creativity that goes into these things. It's not a single person. We have moved slightly away from what we call the auteur director. So the big name directors that you know from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, the Steven Spielbergs, they are like the all singing, all the dancing, this is how it is. I've made that choice. But there are so many more directors that are a piece of the machinery. They're not necessarily that driving force. So it is, in my experience, it's rarely a director saying they want to do that. It could happen, but that's quite rare. Normally, you'd need to understand their reasons why. So, for instance, if a character has a safety catch off, I would want to know the reasons why. Okay, talk me through the reasons why. Are you trying to show that this person is a bit slack? Are you trying to show that a person is untrained? You know, what is it you're trying to portray? If you're trying to portray that this person is a professional, one of the key things I'd advise you to do is weapons handling correctly, and here's why. So, read the question again, just so I've got it in my head.
I reworded it slightly, but so is it more difficult? What's more difficult to choreograph? A firefight on set, or a difficult conversation with a director who wants to, for example, have the safety catch off for a character as a character now?
I mean, firefights on set are all about what looks good on the camera. So you have close-up shots, you have wide shots, and you are piecing together bits of the story and trying to make it logically work and geographically make sense with the ground that you've got. So it can be a bit of a technical beast, and you've really got to have the eye of a director and a cameraman to understand lenses and how much you're actually seeing and what's important in that particular shot. You've got to understand story and how people viewing it were going to tie it together. And so that's more of a technical one. Whereas speaking to a creative individual and trying to explain to them why something works or should work in a particular way, that's more of a personal problem. So they're two very different things. To be a good advisor, you've got to be very good at the personal stuff in order to get the technical stuff done. if you're just good with the technical stuff but not good with the personal stuff, you'll never achieve what you want to do technically, because you'll be butting heads. So 90% of my job is relationships, is gently persuading people. It's like, you could do that, but if you do that, this then happens. Or this is another way to do it. And it's having no ego, because the industry is filled with people who are very sensitive, some who aren't, but some who are. And if you say to them, that's wrong, then they'll immediately shut down. So if you say to an actor who's doing something, that's wrong, boom, shut down. I remember a terrible day on set I had, introduced to an actress who's playing a corporal. And her backstory was a particular thing. And she was talking to me, and I asked her what accent she was speaking in for the show. And she went, oh, my own one. She had a very plummy, posh accent. And the reason why I asked her, because we were trying to work out her backstory. So if she was a corporal with an accent like that, we could come from a different angle. All these things weave into it. There are people who are extremely posh who do end up as junior NCOs, and there are people that just don't. But it would serve a particular backstory. So I asked, what accent are you doing, so I could tie it in. And she took that as a huge offence that she was doing the wrong accent.
Wow.
And I was like, no, that's not what I meant at all. I'm trying to give substance to your backstory that would fit with that. So there's no right or wrong answers. But she took that as being wrong. So you've got to be really careful. You can't tell people that they're doing something wrong, something's wrong, something's incorrect.
Yeah.
You've got to be much more sensitive to that. Whereas in the military, we're very used to being, that's right, that's wrong. And so a lot of people approach it with that, which is completely the wrong way to do it. So I'd say both are very different problems, but most people struggle with the personal side of things more than the technical.
Okay, makes sense. Follow-up question to that then from David. Do you ever worry that the public's understanding of war is being shaped more by Netflix, for example, than by reality?
Oh, I mean, that's always been the case. Everybody's understanding of war who's never been to war always comes from media, be it, newspapers, film, TV. Yeah, 100%. And I can say that for myself. I can distinctly remember being a teenager and being raised on a diet of World War II films and thinking, war was all about bravery and about doing your bit. And then actually being in war and realizing it's far more complicated and far less straightforward than goodies versus baddies.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about it, because it has always been thus. The media has always been used both for and against the argument about war being a good or a bad thing. And, propaganda has existed throughout. If you look at World War II films that were produced during World War II, about World War II, they were all very jingoistic, very up the Hun, They were all very of a type. And then you get into films about Vietnam in the 80s and the 90s, and actually they were very different in terms of they were very anti-government. Because Britain won World War II, all of our World War II films are very, very patriotic. Whereas if you look at German World War II films, they're very different. There's exceptional films in the 50s and 60s about World War I that was very, very tainted by what had happened in World War II. And so most people's understanding of the military and of warfare is going to come from films. I think if it's something you cannot fully understand or appreciate until you've lived through it. So from my first tour to my third tour, my understanding of warfare and war in general and the war we were fighting changed completely. At the start of it, I was like, we're going over there to fight the baddies, to stop bad things from happening. By the end of it, totally different aspect. So I don't see how other people get an understanding of warfare without having gone to war or speaking to people. Even so, as an older person, generally you have far more of a nuanced understanding of the world. I'm not worried about it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I'm not sure. What I am worried about is more long term. And it's interesting that all these things, this destabilization is happening now. There's a theory that there's an 80-year turnover in terms of people's attitude to war. I mean, proper war. And it is because 80 years is about the lifespan of an individual. We've now pretty much lost everybody who fought in World War II. There are very few World War II veterans left alive. And so the politicians and the soldiers are far more pro-war than they would have been 20 years ago when those people were still around. And it's that sort of 80-year span is the same or a similar theory as the 4-generational one, which is I'm sure you've heard this before. Hard times create good men. Good men create good times create weak men create hard times. It's that same 4-generational cycle. And this is why I think the 1930s is a very interesting period of time. I remember as a kid learning about World War II and learning about what was happening in Germany and not understanding how people could get caught up in this, understanding how the Germans got swept up with this. And now I've got a far better understanding of how that can happen, if that makes sense. I've got a far more nuanced view on how people's behavior and the politics in the media of the day can shape things to move things in a certain way that ends up getting there.
Last question. How you feel about the decision to remove the conditional immunity for Northern Ireland legacy prosecutions?
I don't know enough about it, but I think it's got to be fair on both sides. And the whole point of the peace process was to say, right, that's it. Draw a line under it. Everybody from both sides immune. All right. We understand why it happened. It shouldn't have happened. It did happen. Everybody's immune. So I think it's a terrible idea to go back and go through that all again. It'll never be perfect. Yes, there will have been people who have done bad stuff on both sides. There will have been people in the army who will have done stuff, isolated incidents of people doing bad things. We all know these things happen. We're not going to say that the entire army has been 100% good 100% of the time, but we drew a line under it for peace. The idea was that is the line. People on both sides of the line have done bad stuff. So to go after one side, not the other, that seems poor form.
It was never fair from the start, though, was my recollection. And that I think there was immunity granted to terrorists or accused terrorists, but the immunity wasn't granted to British forces.
I don't know enough about it, but I thought the idea was that it would be on both sides.
Okay, the Good Friday I've got it here. The Good Friday Agreement of 1990. Obviously, we're going back to what it was then. Did not grant blanket amnesty for crimes committed during the Troubles, but it included a structured early release program for paramilitary prisoners as a key component of the peace process. Under the agreement, both the UK and Irish governments committed to an accelerated release program for approximately 400 prisoners affiliated with paramilitary groups, provided their organisations maintained a complete and unequivocal ceasefire. The Northern Ireland Sentences Act 1998 implemented this provision, blah, blah, blah. The eligibility required that the offence was committed before April 10th. Prisoner was release. No amnesty was granted for unprosecuted crimes. Individuals not in prison were not automatically protected from future prosecution under the Good Friday Agreement itself. By July 2000, 428 prisoners had been released. But didn't the Conservatives introduce a protection? No.
And again, I don't know enough. Well,
let's check on it because it's an important subject.
But yeah, I think if you're going to draw a line under it, a line needs to be drawn under it. It won't be perfect. Not everybody will be happy. There will be people who feel that they've got a raw end of that deal. But war is chaos. There is no right and wrong.
Well, Northern Ireland wasn't a war.
No, I know it wasn't, but warfare is complicated. And this is, again, going back to what I was like as a as a teenager versus how I am now, there is no right or wrong. There is a lot of wrong, and that's about it. People can think they're doing things for the right reasons, but actually it's entirely subjective about whether you're right or wrong. So to prosecute somebody because they were on the wrong side, it gets murky.
Unless you're example of what you're talking about.
So for instance, it doesn't happen so much now. There was a spate of it in the 90s, early noughties. German pensioners who had been involved in concentration camps at a very low level, so were soldiers in concentration camps, being arrested and tried for what they did back in 1940 when they were teenagers. Doesn't really achieve much. Is that person the same individual they were back then? No, ostensibly they would have evolved and changed and moved on. Is there any benefit to society for locking up a pensioner for something they did when they were 20? It depends on the crime. Mm. It's a tricky one, and it comes down to the following orders thing. There's never going to be a perfect solution, but I think going back over the past and raking over it again and again is unlikely to bring...
I think we're in an era where the situation like we've got now, or we're in a stage where it's very rare it's going to happen again in the future. The reason I say that is because, so same with Northern Ireland, same with the example you just gave there. Back in these times that we're talking about, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, into the 80s, actual concrete evidence was not abundant.
Yeah.
I mean, recordings, film footage, like the immediate investigative and analysis procedures and steps and quality of information that was gathered was not great. All these things have evolved to a really great position now. So most of the time what's being relied upon is, especially with Northern Ireland, is memories, first-hand, sometimes second-hand accounts of things that went on 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and we know how the memory works. It's fucking terrible. Yeah. It's fucking terrible for everyone.
People's memories change, and people can tell the same story 25 times, and it subtly changes
people
each time.
People don't realise this.
That becomes the truth, whereas that wasn't what you said first time around. Have you ever done jury service?
No, I don't ever want to either.
If you do get the chance to do it, do it. I've done it twice. It's fascinating. But what is fascinating is witnesses and how, because normally a court case will come maybe 6, 9, 12 months after the event, and you'll have a witness statement that was taken at the time, and then you'll have the witness and their recollection of that 9 months later, and it differs wildly because they would have told themselves or told other people that story numerous times, and it would have subtly, very slightly changed over time. And jury service is a fascinating thing to do, and I recommend anybody that does get selected for it do go and do it. But yeah, the human brain and memory is a very pliable thing, and you can make people think they remember things that they don't, and vice versa. It's mad, absolutely mad.
And people can be influenced, given the wrong information or a misrepresentation of something that happened, and 20 years later remember that to be fact of what happened. Now. So I was just looking over this bill, going back onto this conversation. So in 2023, where has it gone? In 2023, so the Northern Ireland Legacy and Reconciliation Act was passed, offering conditional immunity from prosecution to all individuals, including veterans and paramilitaries who cooperated with a new truth recovery body, the ICRIR. This act also halted inquests and civil claims related to the Troubles.
I think this was what Johnny Mercer was trying to achieve.
Yeah, right. Which he drove for this, right? Yeah. Now, one of the good things that did was stop. Now, I'm going to refer to the Bloody Sunday Inquiry here, and I'm not saying that bad things didn't go on that day. I wasn't there. In all likelihood, there was. Bad things went on by people that shouldn't have been doing it that day for a variety of reasons. I'm not going to speculate on any of it. 1972 Bloody Sunday was. and you're conducting investigations nearly 30 years, when it started about nearly 30 years later, like a proper investigation nearly 30 years later, should there have been a proper investigation earlier on that wasn't like half-heartedly done, which was the case? Yeah, they should have. But doing an investigation 30 years later, and I'm just using Bloody Sundays because it's a real good example, because the families of the victims of Bloody Sunday were equally as fucked off that not much happened, right? Because a lot of these cases got thrown out because memory issues.
You could completely understand why.
Exactly. This is the problem with the historical stuff, right? And so what's happened now is this 2023 bill has basically been reversed. So Labour reversed the bill, but it opens the door up for those prosecutions to start again for veterans, for historical stuff, which is problematic. It's so fucking old, and there's not any more evidence.
Yeah, you're not going to...
If new evidence comes about, right, and it's new eyewitness testimony, fuck off. Fuck all the way off. Honestly, whether that's prosecuting a terrorist or whether it's prosecuting British forces, fuck all the way off. Bullshit. Not reliable. 100% not reliable, right? But reason I say it now, in 30 years' time... in such an investigation of things going on now, there is much more reliable evidence. There's film footage for everything. There's audio footage for everything. There's digital records for everything. It's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think people understand that fact.
Yeah.
They don't understand that. But what I don't want to see, so what I don't want to see, is like this, like I just said, investigations into this historical stuff where there's no new evidence. There's maybe some new anecdotal shit that's come about, but nothing that is concrete. And by concrete, I mean like DNA evidence found on the victim that is dead, or the killer, or some ballistics evidence, which doesn't exist because it would have already been found. But anyway.
I agree. I think it rakes over coals that have died down. And I understand why people want to do it and why some families might want to have it done, but it's never going to bring the peace that everybody needs and wants.
Every single historical prosecution that is brought around to do with Northern Ireland now is purely political reasons. There is no other reason that it's brought around. If it's given any air, any attention, it is for purely political reasons. That is it. Yeah, that is it. There is no other reason. I that's what I think anyway. It just doesn't make any sense.
On the other side of it, you've also got things like Phil Shiner in the 20. When did he first rear his head? With Brian Wood and things like that. Phil Shiner.
Haven't they just found out Starmer was involved?
Don't know.
Starmer involved with Phil Shiner.
But yeah, Phil Shiner and public interest lawyers, for those of you who don't know, there were a load of vexatious claims that came out of Iraq. Brian Wood, MC, his story is one of those. And essentially, Phil Shiner went and rounded up a load of people that testified that the Brits had done awful things, and 99% of it turned out to not be true. And it was essentially him going and doing some... go on.
Listen to this.
We've hit the mother load. Go on. Hugh's just found something on the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just remind people who Phil Shiner was.
Phil Shiner was the man with very tiny spectacles. He always wore these very fashionable spectacles.
Is a absolute turd and was found to be falsely. So basically, constructing false prosecutions of British military to do with Iraq alleged atrocities. Basically, all right. Yes, this is an AI answer. So
okay, we'll take that with the pinch of salt.
Answer. It's Brave AI. It's not ChatGPT. It's not Grok. It's not. It's Brave, right? And Brave. Anyway, right, we've got that. Yes, Sir Keir Starmer was involved with Phil Shiner through the nature and extent of their collaboration. Though the nature and extent of their collaboration has been the subject of significant controversy and scrutiny. This is given the sources here as well. Okay, legal collaboration. Starmer worked alongside Phil Shiner on multiple high-profile human cases, human rights cases in the mid-2000s, including a 2007 case that led to the Ministry of Defence ordering inquiries into deaths in Iraq. This case, Al-Skaini and others versus the Secretary of State for Defence, triggered years of criminal investigations into British soldiers, some of whom were wrongly accused.
So that was the Brian Wood one.
That was Brian Wood one. Yeah. Starmer contributed a chapter to a 2008 book titled The Iraq War on International Law, compiled by Shiner. In this work, Starmer argued that international human rights law should apply to British military operations in Iraq, a stance critics say undermined military effectiveness. Starmer acted pro bono, without payment, as an intervener in these cases, representing legal bodies such as the Law Society and human rights organisations. He did not represent the Iraqi claimants directly, but his legal arguments were central to the cases. Phil Shiner was struck off as a solicitor in 2017 and later convicted of fraud and dishonesty in 2024 for fabricating evidence against British troops. He was described by former military leaders as the bane of our lives. Starmer's response: when questioned in Parliament about his links to Shiner, Starmer avoided a direct answer, stating, "As soon as there were any allegations of wrongdoing by Phil Shiner, I had absolutely nothing to do with him." This response drew criticism for being evasive. The Prime Minister's office maintains that Starmer's role was limited to providing technical legal analysis on points of law, and that he did not represent claimants or work directly with Shiner's firm. Well, the evidence otherwise...
Well, no, that kind of... Again, there are a couple of ways to read that. I'm not a fan of Starmer in particular, but the way I read that is Shiner was fabricating evidence.
I see where you're going.
Yeah. Starmer was providing technical advice saying, if that is true, then they have broken the law. Because British troops are under UK law and under other laws as well when they go abroad and fight. It's not like we've got free reign to do whatever we want. We're under humanitarian law. So therefore, what it reads to me is Starmer was saying, yes, from what you've said, that breaks the law. But what it isn't saying is that Starmer was implicit in the lies that Phil Shiner was peddling.
Yeah.
So therefore, do you blame him for it? And he says that as soon as he found out that Shiner was fabricating, he stepped away. I've got no way to prove if that's true or not, but it would seem that, I'd take that in a slightly different way.
I see the way you're thinking it. Yeah, I agree. That's how it reads.
Yeah,
I totally agree. And then you can hypothesize on what is the character of someone like Phil Shiner like to be able to do that, and the character of his network and circle who support him could be questionable as well.
He was a lawyer. Starmer was a lawyer. They're all lawyers, and nobody really likes the lawyers, But
my sister's a lawyer.
Is she? Is she a good one?
Yeah, she's a good one. Yeah, she's a good one.
What kind of lawyer is she?
She is serving.
She's a military lawyer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she's an army officer.
At the moment, she's not army.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll say no more.
They move about.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bugs, it's been too long.
Yeah.
It has been an absolute pleasure, mate.
Mate, we talked about some brilliant stuff.
Can we get a TV and film in the bag with
Von Brock?
Brock Dorfner?
Yeah. The Brock Dorfner. The Brockmeister.
Brockmeister.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And good luck with DT, mate.
DCE, yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, you can come and have a look and come and have a play with a UGV.
Will.
Yeah.
I'll come and play with DTE for sure. For sure. And say a little Jess for me.
I will do.
And so.
Being a pleasure. Thank you for the questions. Good questions.
Good what?
Good questions.
Yeah, good questions for the patrons.
Really good questions for the patrons.
Good questions from the patrons.
Really good, in-depth, difficult questions. I like it.
Difficult questions. Anyway, we're done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Become a patron or don't. Whatever. If you don't, it makes me sad. Bye.